Am I the butthole for not allowing my grandmother around my baby because of something she lied about when I was 15? I'm currently 28, female. I am married with 3 kids, 4-year-old twin boys, 3-month-old girl. My grandmother is 71, female. Back when I was 15, my mom had a set of twins, boy and girl. She was put on bed rest because the C-section she had went wrong and she lost a lot of blood. Where she needed help and I went to school full-time, she invited my grandmother into our home, free of cost, to help her out. At some point or another my mom had threatened to kick her out because every morning my mom would check on the twins to find my brother missing. My gram, who is extremely overweight, had been taking my brother from his crib and was sleeping with him on her chest on the couch. My mom told her multiple times to stop and she refused, so my mom threatened to kick her out. My grandmother's way of retaliating was to tell my mother, who had extreme postpartum depression, that my sister, 2 months old at the time, rolled off the bed and fell onto the tile floors. This never happened. This obviously caused extreme panic on my mom's end, which made her spiral because she was already suffering from the postpartum. Because of this, I don't want my grandmother anywhere near my baby. I lived out of state when my twins were born, so she didn't see them until they were 2 years old and she was never allowed around them alone. However, now that I live in the States and have a baby, she has been harping on me to let her meet my daughter. I kept telling her no, but gave no reason up until last night, where I reminded her that where I witnessed her causing my mom unnecessary panic, I would not be allowing her near my child because I'm not going to chance her doing the same thing with me. My grandmother lost it and really tried saying that that scenario never happened and that we made it all up to make her look bad. A lot of the family has also sided with her, she told everyone, and says that I need to let crap go and stop living in the past. I have been told that I am alienating my grandmother and that I am going to destroy her by not letting her build a bond with my child. Am I the butthole? NTA. That is a huge breach of trust, and the fact that you can't let the past go isn't evidence of you needing to grow up. It's evidence that your grandmother messed up so badly, you are still dealing with this 13 years later. My wife and I have no end of toxic family on both sides and fully support each other and anyone when it's necessary to go no contact. Contrary to what everyone says, you can choose family. Agree very much with this. Original post learned a lesson based on concrete behaviors. Further gaslighting trying to say original post didn't see what original post remembers seeing reinforces that there's a high chance it'll happen again. All reason says original post is smart AF. Gaslighting is evidence that grandma hasn't learned from her mistake and would repeat similar stunts again. The only one who needs to grow up is in her 70s. NTA. Disagree. The ones who need to grow up are grandma and everyone on her side. Edit. I meant grandma, guys. Edited for clarity. If that scenario never happened and they made it all up to make the grandmother look bad, why would original post need to let crap go and stop living in the past? I suspect the grandmother has cultivated multiple alternate stories in order to manipulate each person into siding with her. What's even more terrifying is that she probably believes each warped version is the truth. It's like George Costanza said, it's not a lie if you believe it. Anyone consider that grandma might have dementia? Not that it would be okay for original post to have the baby around her, but I have seen people in their 60s with dementia, and gaslighting is actually them just genuinely unable to remember what happened. Again, not saying anything against original post or pro-grandma, but 71 is totally a reasonable age to show signs of dementia. In that case, nah, and grandma needs help. She probably needs help anyway if she's obese as stated in the post. Your point stands and is very sweet, but yeah, lots of people need help. That's not an excuse to let them around your baby when they've proven that they have no regard for the safety of babies. Edit added a missing word. The quote below is taken from the first line of the post you replied to, not that it would be okay for original post to have the baby around her. Exactly what I was thinking. What is there to let go if it didn't happen? Grandma knows it happened, she's just a raging NTA, op. If anything, this should reinforce that distance. Was thinking the same thing. Definitely couldn't keep her story straight, and unfortunate no one who was on her side realized that too. I concur as well. Original post is doing the right thing by being cautious with her baby around the grandmother. If original post was not being cautious with the baby, what if op's grandmother does the exact same thing again? causing more chaos and making history repeat itself. Obviously, Original Post does not want history to repeat itself. So that is why Original Post is doing the right thing. Good call on the gaslighting. I count 3 deal breakers here. 1. Repeated and belligerent dangerous behavior that can threaten the life of a child. 2. Lies to redirect attention away from bad behavior causing severe emotional distress. 3. Refusal to acknowledge facts of past bad behavior and gaslighting. Had she fessed up, apologized and made steps to correct her behavior, that might be a different story. You're not living in the past, you're protecting your children from a dangerous person with no regard for others. You're not living in the past, you're protecting your children from a dangerous person with no regard for others. Exactly this. People delude themselves and will over time change their memory of past events. Grandmother has probably done this. Tell a lie often enough and you'll believe it. Don't blame Original Post for wanting to keep her distance. I feel there's more to this bad relationship than the one incident mentioned. That's totally how my dad and stepmom were. So many things I knew were true, they said never happened. That and other behaviors made me go no contact. Sometimes it's the only solution. NTA Original Post, don't give in and trust yourself. +1 on the gaslight aspect. Say 1, it didn't happen, while also saying 2, stop clinging to the past. Which is it? Maybe if one were to admit they were wrong and demonstrate how they have grown from their mistakes like a functional adult? Exactly. Let go of the past is what someone says when they're annoyed that you learned from it. This is an excellent example of Original Post following the advice of Maya Angelou: when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. She's done right by herself and her children by believing her grandmother the first time. NTA credit. This is very eloquently put and also very right. Original Post, stick to your guns. Especially if she is still using Darvo tactics, and I would try my best, though knowing me, likely fail and lash out, to try and let it roll off you like water on a duck's back. Obviously that is easier said than done. But, if you just don't rise up in defense, if you just say no and always leave it at that, eventually, the rest of the family will also stop talking about it. If you have intentions of letting her see the child after it is no longer in infancy, maybe let them know this and then remain constant but not reactive when it's brought up. Change the subject either subtly, or do what I, often, to my own detriment, do to make it clear the topic is done. Ask the relative hounding you about a particularly sensitive topic of theirs. So say they are telling you to let grandma have baby, you ask them how their ex who cheated on them is doing, or if they'd let their high school bully have a key go their house and access to their schedule. I don't know, just pick at what you can in an obvious way. This makes most people tend to stop asking you that question. Edit to fix errors. Especially if she is still using Darvo tactics: deny, attack, reverse victim and offender, a effing scurrilous method of invalidating your hurt. Thank you for the credit. I've seen that quote a lot but didn't know who originated it. First she says it didn't happen. Then she says you need to let it go. So which is it? Did it happen and you need to let it go, or did it not happen? Her response is a classic narcissistic response: I didn't do it, and if I did it's not a big deal, and if I did it you shouldn't be upset about me doing it. You are not the butthole and stand by your decision and trust your gut. What your grandma did was really cruel. She's probably spinning the story to other family members to make her sound the wronged party. If you care about what the rest of the family think, you could try to set the story straight. Otherwise, ignore them. The fact she hasn't apologized shows she would do a similar thing again if it suited her. Keep setting boundaries and don't let her near your kids. A narcissist's prayer: that didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was, that's not a big deal. And if it is, that's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. You know my mill too? She literally has used all of those on me multiple times. It's unfortunately my mother. My mill is wonderful. My poor husband. But luckily you recognize it and hopefully support your husband. It was a very stressful topic in my marriage, but we finally got to a good place, which means I rarely have to see her anymore. It was the only solution to keep her from creating new lies and unnecessary drama. Oh, snap. Someone else. I often say that I have the best mother-in-law ever, but my husband's mother-in-law sucks. It takes people a moment to translate. Smiley face. I haven't spoken to my mother in a long time, so it's okay. You know. Checks list. 99% of my family and my long-term boyfriends? Yeah, they led to multiple stints in the psych ward for me, where I at least learned to recognize this behavior. I've said this elsewhere in this thread, but it's not a lie if you believe it. George Costanza. Too true, abusers love to use this logic all the time. Also, original post is NTA. They get final say about who is around their infant child. Yeah, screw the grandma. She's trying to gaslight and pretend she's the victim. That means she's still an abuser and has no remorse. My dead ex-husband to a T. The grandmother said it didn't happen, the extended family said op should let it go. Still a problem, as either the grandmother admitted it happened in conversations with the extended family and they want original post to endanger her child just to keep the peace, or the family knows the grandmother is lying about it yet still cares more about having to hear her whining than they do about the kids. Plus op's last post about the same person moving nearer to her was deleted. This post violates Rule 5, we do not allow posts which concern violent encounters. This includes violence against other individuals, sexual assault, rape, physical abuse, animal abuse, felony damaging of property, violent threats, any other violent encounter not yet mentioned, and accusations of such violence that may or may not be true. That's interesting. I just tried to look at OP's post history and it says the account has been suspended. NTA. Because of this right here. Secondly, she tried gaslighting you. You were 15 when this happened. It not like you just had a false memory of this, not at 15, at 5 maybe, but 15 no. Drop her like a hot potato. I work as an investigator for CPS. I have had so many child deaths because people want to sleep with young infants after being told not to. Your grandmother could have killed your brother. It's really despicable that she would lie to your mom like that to send her spiraling. Don't let your children around this woman. She is toxic and will to put young children at risk. If something, God forbid, were to happen to your child, it could come back on you because you allowed it to happen. Your children could be removed and placed in foster care. Don't open yourself to that kind of investigation. They are horrible for everyone involved. I can't get over how incredibly cruel that was of her. Original post is so NTA. 100%, not the butthole, and agree with this post. My mother and grandmother are a similar reason I don't want kids, and my husband already has agreed with me if we ever do they will never be alone with the child. Also want to add that even if grandma were totally normal, original post has every right not to allow her around her children simply because she says so. Being related to anyone never entitles them to access to my child. Original post is the damn mother. She has permission to say access denied to anyone she damn well pleases, for any reason, when it comes to her young children. You are under no obligation to let her meet your kids. In fact, you'd be doing a disservice to your kids by letting her into their lives no matter how brief a time. Stay strong and protect your babies. I have been told that I am alienating my grandmother. Just respond, yes, I am, on purpose. Grandma isn't entitled to a relationship with you or your kids. Say something more like you did this to yourself by neglecting the twins and ignoring my mother's wishes and endangering her baby, then lying to stress my mom out more. I do not want an abusive and neglectful and manipulative woman in my life, or my children's lives. For our safety, you will not be coming around me or my children. Do not contact me again. Not the butthole, by the way. Edit. I miss she was great grandmother. Still not a good idea to be this rude. Formal is always better. Don't do this unless your state doesn't allow for grandparents' rights. From what I understand, every place that does have grandparents' rights are not at all like parents' rights. It requires there to be a pre-existing relationship with the child in order for it to matter. It's like if your kid is 5 and spent every weekend with grandparents, then you decide to stop, they can sue because taking that relationship away is harmful to the child. Op's grandmother has no relationship with the baby, so has no grounds to sue for grandparents' rights. Yeah. My best friend's mom is ordered by court to let her children see their grandmother for a weekend every month. This is because their grandmother kidnapped my best friend and refused to give her back to her mother until she got court rights to see her grandchildren. Their grandmother is also the manipulative abuser of their mother. Their grandmother also has beaten their mother, and gotten away with it when the police came to investigate because their mother had called them. It makes me angry that they had no choice in the matter. She's not the kid's grandparent, but great-grandparent. I don't think there are any states that give great-grandparent rights, but I could be mistaken? Grandparents' rights is such a bullcrap concept. I can understand if the grandchild had a minor for a mother, or someone who is addicted to drugs and or mentally unstable. But if the parent is sound of mind and aged 18 plus, why would the grandparents ever think they have any rights over the custody or visitation rights concerning the grandchild? They had their turn if their child doesn't want them to have a relationship with the grandkid. That's a pretty big red flag, at least in my opinion, that the grandparents were not good parents even in their physical and cognitive prime. Up, your NTA. This is her kid's great-grandmother. I'm pretty sure they get no rights. NTA. Also, I hate the whole stop living in the past argument. We learn from the past so we don't make the same mistake in the future. That's all she's doing here. NTA, this. The grandmother's response validated everything she already believed about her. Rather than trying to prove she changed and owning her mistakes, she tries to gaslight up. Protect yourself too. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.